Now, what does this tweet mean to you in terms of the status quo about what might happen next?
I think that's the first indication by the president that he does plan to de-escalate. He recognizes that this was intentional by the Iranians to hit near the air bases and in unpopulated areas as a way to tell their domestic population, we hit back, but to not cross a line of killing Americans that they knew would in fact bring retaliation by us. So I think this is a good sign, both in the fact that they made the hits, the strikes the way they did, and that the president is showing this optimistic, measured tone in that tweet.
Are you comfortable giving a message to the president tonight through this program or directly that you do not see a need for further military force against Iran at this point?
Absolutely. I believe that this was intentional by the Iranians to make sure they didn't kill Americans as a way to bring this to an end. I think the president recognized it. I'm certain they recognize it. And this is the time to start de-escalating and start getting into talks about how we can resolve our differences going forward.
Now, if nothing else happens, God willing that happens, because we don't need any more violence in the world. The president has really high ground right now legally. Maybe he got here by bad reason. But if Congress were to step in and say, hey, don't do anything else, I don't think you have a great case because the United States bases were just attacked. However, if nothing else happens, is it time for you in Congress to finally start stepping up and doing your job? Presidents from Clinton, maybe from Reagan on, have been given power that the Constitution did not give them. It's Congress's power to declare war. It's Congress's power to give statutory authority to things like what we've just seen. Is Congress ready to step up?
Well, we have been stepping up. The fact is we gave the administration the 2002 AUMF that allowed the activities in Iraq that this president used to take out Soleimani. We have had no need to go back and revisit that AUMF. We have, as you know, I'm one of the most senior members of the Armed Services Committee. We monitor on a regular annual basis what's happening over there, and if we choose to differ with the White House about their actions in the region, we can cut off the money. We can cut off authorization.
That is true.
We don't do that.
You don't do it.
There is ongoing activity to monitor what's taking place, but I don't think an AUMF necessarily is necessary at this point in time.
Well, look, I think it's a debate for a different day, to be honest, because I don't know how an AUMF in 2002 that was derivative of 9/11 and stopping anything that went into that and going after terror organizations correlates with what is going on with Iran right now. But let's put that aside. Your second point is more relevant. You should be in the loop. You weren't in the loop, to our understanding, until after this happened. Should that change? Should the president reestablish the connection, at least to the Gang of Eight, before he does anything else like this?
No. The fact is, with Osama bin Laden, nobody was notified ahead of time, and they shouldn't have been. This town leaks like a sieve. The president and his top leadership should make the decisions based on intel that they have to make to keep Americans safe and take action. And then, under the War Powers Act, they should notify us immediately thereafter. We have all sorts of reviews that we can take afterwards to make sure that the law was complied with and things were done in a prudent fashion. But I'm not for the Congress starting to micromanage the executive branch, particularly the commander-in-chief.
All right, but just to be clear, and again, this conversation is respectful and deliberately so, because it's not a partisan argument. It's just a concern about the continuum of leadership. Osama bin Laden was the head of a terrorist organization that was directly related to 9/11. That was an ongoing battle. Of course, the president was going to make a move there. This is different. Going after Iran, whether or not Secretary of Pompeo can make a good case for imminent threat or not, which he hasn't to date. They didn't put out the Joint Chiefs head, which usually they do, which I think is telling. This is something where they could have consulted with you, and it just seems to me that given what we just lived through, God willing, it ends here. Is this something where you're really comfortable letting the president make a call like this to take out a general like that without Congress having anything to do with it?
Certainly, just like I was okay with the 2,000 drone strikes against terrorists that Obama had.
But those were terrorists, part of an organization, not a general who's number two of a sovereign.
And he was a designated terrorist. True. He was a lawful target, not only designated by us, but by the United Nations. This was a very bad actor who killed over 600 Americans, who was the leader of many of the militia groups in Iraq. people need to be mindful.
Yes.
He was in Iraq, in Baghdad, when he was taken out. He was not in Iran. He was in Iraq meeting with militia groups, planning another attack. He had organized and initiated the attack in December that killed an American contractor. This fellow needed to be killed. They had actionable intelligence of where he was going to be, meeting with one of the founders of Hegab, Hezbollah.
Right.
And took him out. They didn't have time, in my view, based on what I know, to come to Congress and have a conference with the Gang of Eight or whoever. And I don't think it would be appropriate to do that anyway.
I take your counsel on that. You know information we don't. That's part of the problem here, is that this president has told us not to trust U.S. intelligence. I never took that seriously, but he apparently did. And he said classified, confidential informants, forget it. They're all deep state buzzwords. Now's the time for him to give us the information that you apparently have so American people can be on the same page. I thank you for your argument here tonight, Congressman, and your perspective. You're always welcome on the show.